Okay, just a friendly reminder of how a function is related to its graph. So if you have the point AB on the graph of a function, that means f of a equals b. And on the other hand, if you know that f of a equals b, then you know that there's a point on the graph of the function, and that point would be a comma b. Now, let's say you need to find f of a. You're just asked to find f of a, then you've got to take, you don't have b yet. Let's say all you know is a, then you need to go look on the graph for a point where the x-coordinate is a. So let's take a look at some examples of this kind of thing and see what this means. So for instance, question, if f is given by this graph below, so all the points in blue are the graph, find f of 4. So f of 4 is equal to 2 because of this point right here, 4 comma 2. That's a point on the graph. So to find, if the question is just f of 4, we don't have this information about 2 yet. I mean, the question is, where's there a point where the x-coordinate is 4? And it's this point, and we read off the y-coordinate being 2. Okay, just to clarify again, because we were asked f of 4, we look for a point in the picture where the x-coordinate was 4, and we report the y-coordinate. Okay, let's do another one. If f is given by the graph below, find the domain of f. Now this, remember, domain is about all of the inputs that are valid. And the valid inputs are the x values. So we're looking at this graph of a function. So it's all the points between this hollow dot and this one. Just don't include these dots, but everything in between, all those points count. And so the domain is -2 to 5. So you've got all x values between -2 and 5 represented, with the exception of -2 itself and 5 itself. Okay, so there are points in the graph with every x value between -2 and +5. So the domain is this interval from -2 to +5. This is an x value, this is an x value, and this is the interval that shows all of the x values that we have in this picture. Now, as a slight change, let's take a look at the domain here. So looking at this picture, what are the inputs, or what are the set of x values that we see? So here we've got x values from -3 all the way up to +2 right here, but we stop because of this unfilled in point. So we don't have a point here, we just have everything that leads up to it. And then we also have points between here and there. So all of these points in blue are included. We just don't have a point where the x-coordinate is exactly 2 or exactly 4, but we have all the x values between 2 and 4. Okay, so just to clarify again, there are points in this graph where the x-coordinate satisfies either x being between -3 and 2 or x being between 2 and 4. As one more, let's take a look at a slightly different example. This modifies the previous example with this filled in dot here. That means actually include the point. This unfilled dot means get all of the points leading up to but not including this point. And so here, the slight change is that we're going to include the number 4, and that's what the square bracket here is about. So there are points in the graph here where the x-coordinate is between -3 and +2, or you can also find that there are points where the x-coordinate is between +2 and +4, including the number +4. Okay, the range, on the other hand, is the set of outputs. So the outputs are the y-coordinates, and we should look at this picture and ask, among the points that are shown in blue, what y-coordinates do we have? And the smallest of the y values looks to be -3, except the number itself, right? But everything leading up to -3. And the largest y value all the way up to almost 3, but not including 3. So like 2.9 and 2.99 and so on. So the range, the set of y values we see is -3 to +3, excluding -3 and excluding +3, and that's what the parentheses are about. Common question would be, what about this over here? Well, it doesn't matter. Even though over here it looks like the y value 1 ought to be excluded, there is a point right here in blue where the y-coordinate is 1. Okay, so we have points in the graph where the y value is any number that you want between -3 and +3. Okay, with the exception of -3 itself and +3 itself. Now, if we change the picture a little bit and have a slightly different question, we fill in this dot right here. Now, what's the range? Okay, the range, now we should include the y value -3, so there's a square bracket here. Okay, yeah, there are points in the graph satisfying this. So you can find y values. You can find a point on the graph where the y value is 2. You can find a point on this graph where the y value is -2, like right here, you can find a point where the y value is -3, and that's right here. But you can't find a point where the y value is exactly 3 because there's this hole, this unfilled point right there. You can find a point where the y value is 2.7, which it visually appears to be like right about here somewhere.